Hello everyone and welcome to episode 456 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now I'm thrilled to announce that I've got a returning guest to this podcast. I'm joined by the incredible Tim from the amazing band Rise Against. On today's episode we get to catch up, talk all about the band's history, the usual stuff you get from Mark and Me, and focus on their brand new album, which as you're listening to this right now is out. It's called Ricochet, it's the band's 10th album, it is fucking awesome, so is Tim, so is this podcast. I'm so thrilled with the way it came out, it's awesome. And that interview will be coming up in just a couple of minutes time. But on all episodes of Mark and Me, I'll always use the intro just to quickly touch base and talk about my last episode. It only came out 24 hours ago. I was joined by Damien Rugner, the film director, the incredible talent, the amazing writer, all-round great human being, and we got to talk all about When Evil Lurks. Thank you so much to everyone that listened. I haven't even had time to look at the numbers because it's only been 24 hours, but I'm really grateful for all the shares, all the horror fans that have took the time to tell people about this podcast. It means the world. But today it's all about one of the best bands out there. I'm honoured to say it, Rise Against. Now, just before I hit the play button and you get to hear the interview, I'm going to confront the big elephant in the room. The sound quality on my microphone isn't very good. I usually use a really nice expensive Shure mic, but I'll tell you the actual truth. I'm going to actually completely be honest with you all and tell you why it doesn't sound as good as normal. The day the interview was offered to me, I went into hospital. I had to have a huge kidney operation and have a stone taken out of my urethra. It was disgusting. 6mm. I was put under anaesthetic. I was told not to do anything for a week, take at least 24 hours to sleep. Went in, had this stent put in, which is, it's absolutely awful. Anyone, if you're listening, I don't wish it on my worst enemy. And I got offered this interview with Tim the day I came out. I was told not to do anything, but I just couldn't turn it down. I love Rise Against. I knew the opportunity might not come up again, so I did it. The only problem is I didn't have my microphones, my headphones, I didn't have anything, just my laptop. So I'm using the actual microphone on my laptop. Yes, it doesn't sound as clear as normal. Yes, the clarity in my voice isn't as good. But I hope it shows my determination and the fact that I will not turn down an interview that means a lot to me. Even when I've got a stent hanging out of me, I'm still under anaesthetic, I'm recovering and really poorly. It still is not a good enough reason for me to cancel an interview. So keep that in mind. Enjoy today's interview. Let's get to it. Here's me, Tim, talking all things Rise Against.
So we raise hands up high in the sky, full speed, then we cover our eyes, just dance. No, do not cry, bite down. My jaw's tight, stay close. Yeah, hold me tight, full steam. 'Cause I'm in love with the night, I'm done in mind. Are we okay?
So Tim, welcome back to the Mark and Me podcast.
It's good to be back. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Now, what I do with all guests that come on, Tim, is I always like to take it right back to the very start. So with every band or film director or actor that's been on, I am always interested in how it all started for you. So maybe as a kid, maybe with pocket money or someone in the family or one of your close friends gave you that first album that you remember. It might be embarrassing, it might be absolute awful album, but it also might be one that changed your life. And I wondered if you were lucky that you started your musical journey with this great or embarrassing album.
Oh my gosh. So where did it all start? I guess like I didn't grow up in a musical family.
No.
I didn't grow up in a musical town. I grew up like 20 miles outside of Chicago. So while Chicago was musical, like the town I was living in there was no music happening. So it was my first like connection to like music was like I had two older sisters, and they were the ones like that were ahead of the curve in terms of like discovering culture more.
Yeah.
And so I would hear probably like, they were getting into like I guess like what I think of as typical older sister stuff in the late 80s, which was like Tears for Fears and Depeche Mode and In Excess and that kind of stuff. And then they got into a little bit of hair metal as well. And it was the edgier hair metal that sort of like really perked my ears, like Guns N' Roses or Motley Crue, like that kind of stuff was like, oh, like that sounds interesting to me. I'd like to know more about that. And I think from that it was like into Metallica and then into heavier stuff like metal. And then from there, like punk like arrived probably via like another for another friend's older sister. And then I was just hooked. And then punk felt like contraband. Punk felt dangerous. Punk
Yeah,
felt like I got a hold of something that I wasn't supposed to have. I was like hearing something I shouldn't be hearing. And I think that I was kind of a nerdy kid that was into just reading, and sci-fi and fantasy and but then also a lot of dystopian type stuff too. And I think like punk became my musical counterpart to like dystopian art, dystopian literature, like 1984 or
oh wow,
Fahrenheit
yeah,
451. You know what I mean? Like punk was like, oh, like these authors are talking about it, but now these bands are talking about it. They're criticizing society in a way that like Motley Crue or Depeche Mode weren't. You know what I mean?
of
Like and like
course,
on
yeah.
and now I feel like they're opening my eyes to different things. And then I was just, there was no turning back for me.
I mean, the foundations from your sisters of Depeche Mode is pretty awesome, isn't it? Really, like that's some great foundations to build upon, and they're bands that I still listen to today, like In Excess, I think you mentioned as well. Like they are
Mhm.
great foundations. Some people are like, oh, I got into pop music and then I realized I wanted something a bit heavier, but you must be grateful to your sisters because they're bands that stood the test of time.
Yeah, in fact, I just listened to In Excess Kick yesterday from front to back, because somebody was talking about it. And it's like, oh yeah, these are these were it's easy to see them as just these hugely dominant pop music chart topping bands of the
Yeah,
time, you know what I mean? Which like when you come from the punk world, those are easy things to dismiss out of hand, you know? And then when you just sit back and listen to the music, 30 years later, or whatever, longer than that, 40 years later, you're like, oh yeah, these are great songs. And this is
yeah.
this is the great vocalist, and this is just good stuff. And it still has its own edge, at the same time.
And you talked then about getting into kind of dystopian future within sci-fi and books. You mentioned two absolute classics, but were you also, even though you found that relevance within music as well, it must have kind of felt like the bands were talking to you personally because you were such a believer in it and loving all the sci-fi and all the stuff that went with it. But were the films part of it as well? Were you a huge fan of like Blade Runner and all the sci-fi classics that kind of shaped those books and everything that become all as one good genre that kind of give you so much ideas and inspiration?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think my favorite movies are the movie Network
Amazing.
and amazing movie, and then like Apocalypse Now is another one of my favorite films. Um, and all of these films were like such like critiques of like society. I think because I grew up in sort of a bit of a Pleasantville, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
These things came as like such a shock to me as they kind of were peeling back the layers of society and even my own position in society, like upon whose backs does this Pleasantville exist? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is not something I had ever considered until a lot of these artists sort of opened my eyes to that. And I think that punk and hardcore is where I landed, and this was like the '90s, so like the '90s punk and hardcore, like especially hardcore, the vegan straight edge world was happening a lot. So that was like my eyes were opening to factory farming, you know what I mean, animal rights, like things like
Yeah.
that. Those were became like I guess like gateway drugs to activism. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great way to
Like
put it.
yeah, like they were like it was like I was certainly compelled by what I was being seen in the way we treat animals. And it made me change my life forever. I haven't eaten meat since 1995. But it also was like, wait, if I'm not being told this, what else am I not being told? You know what I mean? Or what else is there out there that I should be trying to find out about? And so that sort of set me off on my path, I guess.
And what a massive rabbit hole that is to go down when you're thinking
There's
like,
a
what else?
yeah,
What else is being withheld from me?
totally, yeah. And it's like and it's funny because when I say it in today's world, it sounds almost very conspiracy theory. but I was never like a conspiracy theorist, or I never thought about these things as like conspiracies. I just thought of them like, well, these are in the best interests of somebody trying to make a lot of money. And so
Yeah.
it's in their best interest to emphasize certain information and de-emphasize other information. And so I'd like to just kind of expose that. Um, but it was never the kind of thing where all of a sudden now I'm believing in chemtrails and whatever else.
No, of course.
It was
Yeah.
more it was more just starting to figure out how the world works, you know what I mean, and how the economy works and how there are people in this world that have advantages, there are people that have disadvantages, and how incentives kind of play a role in like our everyday decisions.
Yeah, I think the bigger picture is quite hard to see as well when you're growing up because a lot of it's shielded from you, especially if you're from a
Hmm.
good family that want to kind of
Right.
see the best in you and have the best ideas and the best kind of output for you. They want you to have the best kind of journey ahead. So sometimes they'll
Mm.
shield you from the reality of how harsh the world can be. And I don't get too political on this podcast because the listeners
Right.
love to hear about music journeys and stuff. But I do think as a parent, they want to do the best for you, and if they can kind of let you believe the nice things in life,
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
that might be the right intention, even though it might be that then you start reading and listening to albums and thinking, oh fuck, like this is not how it is.
Right, right. Yeah. And I'm
The
and full circle, like I'm a parent now. And those are
yeah,
my instincts are to shield these kids from the harsh realities of society. You know what I mean? Like what parent would not have those instincts? You know what I mean?
yeah, like
And
kids, you're
so
not watching the news. I'm not letting you watch the news right now, kids. Like get back
exactly.
on
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah,
Yeah. Like if you've seen the world and what a scary place it is, like what loving parent wouldn't want to protect their kids from that? You know what I mean? And so it's a dicey part of parenting. It's like at what point are you doing them good by protecting them, or at what point are you doing them a disservice by sheltering them too much? You know what I mean? But
I
that's a
think there's
that's
so far. It's hard. I'm never going to give parent advice on a podcast, but I think there's only so long you can protect them because the real world's just out there and it frightens me. I do, away from podcasting, a lot of lecturing at colleges, and I've been around a lot of people within the music world, and I'm seeing so many of the younger generation. When I was a kid, I sound like a granddad, but it was really straightforward. You just meet your friends, hang out, go and hang out in fields, make dens.
Mm,
Now, as a parent, I'd be terrified of anyone because of the technology, because of the likes, because of the bullying about social media, about trying to have the right amount of followers, numbers. It all matters, and I feel like you're doomed from day one because you're just trying to prove yourself and be something all the time, and the expectations are so much higher when you could just have a wholesome day back in the day and just enjoy
hmm.
being human and just playing
Right.
games. And I feel like
Totally.
we're just losing touch a bit. And I don't mean to be, I'm not making it a bleak podcast. I'll be
No,
celebrating your
yeah.
music as well. But I do worry.
Mm,
I think, God, to have a brand new baby in this world now must be like, what am I setting you up for? The world is just going to shit.
It's scary. That is for sure. Their experiences are way different. I'm very grateful for my experiences, probably similar to your experiences, and
Yeah.
feel unqualified to be raising kids who are in a digital landscape as
Yeah.
someone who never grew up in one. You know what I mean? So it's like there's advantages to that for sure, and there are obvious disadvantages to it as well. They're a bit of a guinea pig generation, I think.
So let's talk live music because obviously, even when we were going to gigs, and even now when kids go to gigs,
Hmm.
I think the first one always has an impact on you. And I was very lucky. So I'm 43 years old. The first gig I went to, I was very fortunate. My parents dropped me off at the age of I think 12 or 13, and I went to see Green Day on their Dookie tour.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, honestly, life changing. I came home and I was like, how did three people make that much noise on stage? Because they didn't have a extra guitarist or percussion or anything back then. It was just the three of them.
Mm,
I've listened to songs like When I Come Around and Basket Case, and I just wanted to be a guitarist and singer like Billy Joe Armstrong. I was like, that's all I want to do. Like,
mm.
that changed my life. And I wondered if your first gig, if you were lucky and it was a band that blew your mind, or was it a Battle of the Bands kind of style, or was it an embarrassing one that you don't like to tell people, or
Let's see. Um, I can't remember exactly what the very first show was. There's one. there's one embarrassing one in there, and I was probably in junior high, like 1991 ish, and grunge was starting to pop off.
Yeah.
I really liked the band Soul Asylum, and I
Yeah.
liked the band Screaming Trees. They were both
Oh
like
wow.
bands that like,
Awesome
yeah,
bands. Yeah.
awesome bands. So I wanted to go see Soul Asylum and Screaming Trees, and they were going on tour, and they were going to be on tour together, but they were both opening up for one more band that makes the story a little bit more embarrassing.
Oh
And that
God.
ba that band was the Spin Doctors. And
Oh my
so
God.
in order and like, it's all love, you know what I mean? God bless the Spin Doctors. But
Yeah.
in order to see the Screaming Trees and Soul Sound, I had to buy a ticket to the Spin Doctors concert. And so that actually ended up probably being one of my very first, like a big amphitheater, like 25,000, maybe 30,000 people. Like
Wow.
people, yeah, like people forget how big that band was when they first came out, but it was a full shed sized, like huge band. Like I would go on to see Nirvana later that year in a venue like a third that size. Like Spin
Mind
Doctors
blowing.
were they were just massive, and so but Soul Asylum was great and Screaming Trees were so great. They were touring Sweet Oblivion, and that was awesome. And so, but then like peppered in between there, I was seeing lots of local bands, some that I wouldn't even remember their names, you know what I mean? And it was like the local scene, which was really the stuff that was having a big impact on me. And then every once in a while I'd pop out to a bigger show like Rage Against the Machine,
Oh wow.
or I remember seeing like Helmet back then. I saw Nirvana around that time too. They played with Mudhoney and Jawbreaker in
Fucking
Chicago.
hell. Was that
That was a
unbelievable?
that was unbelievable too. Yeah, because it was supposed to be Nirvana, Mudhoney, and the Wipers. And then that's the show I thought I was going to. And then something happened, the Wipers had to cancel. And so as a last minute replacement that never made any poster or any billing anywhere, it was like Jawbreaker was there. And so I walked in
Fucking
and I was a
hell.
fan of Jawbreaker into like Aragon Ballroom, which is like a 4,400 cap room. And it's got a very like Brixton kind of vibe,
Yeah.
And holy shit, like Jawbreaker was on stage. And I was not expecting to see that. And I was like, this is incredible. And I remember thinking, to your point of like how did Green Day make that much noise? I remember thinking I had Jawbreaker cassettes at that point, and they were dubbed cassettes. They weren't the actual albums. I didn't have like the personnel. I just assumed they were like a 4 or 5 piece because it was
Yeah.
so noisy. It was so noisy. I remember walking on stage and seeing three people and being like, that was my first thought was like, holy shit, Jawbreaker's a 3 piece. That's incredible. And the show was
It's
incredible.
great they did it justice as well because on record, like you said, they sound huge. And sometimes you go to a gig and it's not a bad thing, but you
Mhm.
can't expect without 6 or 7 overdubs in the studio and all these effects and extra amps and everything. It sounds huge. And sometimes you go to a gig and it's like, oh, it's a little bit flat because they've
Mhm.
done so much in production. But the fact that Jawbreaker went on and did that album justice is that's what it's all about.
It's incredible. I just saw the band Refused, like as they came to the
Amazing.
States. Amazing. And so Refused fans will know they're touring now with one guitar player, but they've always toured with two guitar players. And like I was a little skeptical. I'm like, how are they going to do what they do with one guitar player? But holy shit, they're totally doing it, and it's incredible. And I forget his name, but he's probably one of the best guitar players I've seen play guitar, And he's just the music is he's holding it down with one guitar. And I've always been impressed with bands like that hold it down with one guitar but make it sound huge. I think AFI is one of those bands. I think
Yeah.
Billy Talent is one of those
Oh
bands.
my God, Billy Talent
Um,
a textbook for that because I just don't know how he does it. It's Ian, isn't it, on guitar? And
yeah.
he just I don't know how he does it. Like his riffs are
Mm,
really fat anyway. His amps are great, but bands like Biffy Clyro, unbelievable in the studio. But also
yes.
when I take it back to like the roots of when I was growing up, I never could believe that Silverchair used to just be a one guitarist band. Like Daniel Johns would sing and play guitar, and I was like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
how are you doing this?
Yeah. That stuff's incredible. And like I mean to that point, Quicksand was opening for Refuse on that show. And they're down a guitar player and have been since their reunion. And like then they're pulling it off with one guitar also. So it's kind of amazing.
So it's Refuse's final tour, isn't it? Like the end of Refuse, like because I've had Dennis on the podcast, and I was like,
Hmm.
with absolute full respect, because they're one of the greatest bands to do it. I was like, is
Mm.
this really the end? Because, I've heard this is the end and Refused are dead and all this, but he was adamant, like, this is it. We're going out. We're doing all the old cuts. We're doing new stuff. We're doing everything. Like, you're going to get the best show we can do. But he looked me in the eye and he's like, this is the final tour. And I was like, without a guitarist, like, I've always imagined, like, when every time I've seen you, new noise, everything, it's all about two guitars. So you filled me with confidence because I'm going to go to the Manchester show in the UK
Mm.
and say goodbye. And I'm excited now because I was a bit wary. I was a bit like, you refused. Have always been that extra guitar.
They're at the top of their game. I'm a kid who saw Refused open for Snapcase in 1996 at the Fireside Bowl when they came to the States, saw songs to Fan the Flames, And I'm also somebody who plays in a band that Refused opened for us across an entire European tour just like 5 years
Wow.
ago. So I got to see them
Yeah.
every night when they were touring that Freedom Records. I've seen a lot of Refused shows. They're at the top of their game right fucking now. Like the show I saw just like a month ago in Utah. It was the best Refused show I've seen. I was just so blown away. It's almost makes you so sad
I was
because
about
you're
to
just
say,
like,
it's like, it's sweet and sour, isn't it? Like, you get this incredible gig and, like, oh my God, they're top of their game, but they're
mhm,
going out. But perhaps they're going out while they're at the top, that's the way to do it,
yeah,
isn't it? Be remembered,
right,
not have that big dip, and people are like, oh, remember when Refused used to be good, but
right.
I'm gonna miss that band. I'm gonna be emotional. You got what a support band as well. Quicksand, wow.
Yes, that's what I think they're doing that in Europe as well. I believe with
Yeah,
Quicksand. Yeah, I think they
fair
decided to do
play.
that. Yeah,
That's
Quicksand's
phenomenal.
so good. Two great bands for sure.
So for yourself, obviously with the time we've got, we can never go through your whole history,
Hmm.
but at a young age, was it quite early on that you knew to yourself that you wanted to do music? Was it, I know obviously you guys formed, this blows my mind, 26 years ago, which is making me feel old, but were you just always destined to do music? Did you turn around to your parents while you were studying and being like, I want to be in a band, which is probably every parent's nightmare? Or were you like, I'll see, I'll dabble in this, I'll do a bit of that, and then music came into your life? Because there must be that moment where something clicks and you're like, this is all I want to do now.
Wow. I mean, it's interesting because it was definitely looking back, it was definitely the only thing I ever wanted to do. I just never
Yeah.
saw it as like something you could do. You know what I mean? Like I saw music as the way a teenager sees maybe like playing video games. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
like when I want to avoid everything else and not do anything else, I'm gonna go play a video game. And for me, it was like
Yeah.
I'm gonna go play guitar. And so it was the thing that I did that I always wanted to do. If you gave me free time, that's all I thought about. Even though I was supposed to be working or supposed to be doing chores or supposed to be doing school, all I wanted to do was play music. But I think I had like a mental block in my head where I just put it in the category of like this is like recreation. This is like you playing soccer and somewhere playing video games or whatever. This isn't actually a career. This is the thing that you're doing to avoid making hard decisions about what you're going to do with your life, you know?
Yeah.
And little did I know, like I was secretly kind of preparing to like be a musician, but I never took it, I never saw it as a reality. I think that's probably a combination of growing up in a punk world, like we don't necessarily celebrate success,
No.
for our musicians. We sort and sometimes we condemn it, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's
so I
you
would,
kind of anti-success, isn't it? Like you don't. Everyone wants everyone to do well, even the friends you've toured with and bands. Thrice and Billy Talent, all these great bands that have been out there. But
Mhm.
it feels like you should always be like the underdogs, if that makes sense. You shouldn't be the main headliner at Download because you're still that kind of punk. You're still kind of that ether of
Yeah,
I don't know. You just don't want the shiny big medals for it.
it's true. I think like probably like somebody like Tom York is the mascot for this vibe.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, but punk rock has that real punk rock guilt where like ambition is looked upon with a little bit of suspicion. You know what I mean? And like I think I was that kid for sure, especially in a punk world, and especially in like a 90s hardcore world, which was very like PC hardcore, a lot of rules, a lot of tribal sort of things, you have to do this, you can't be this and that. And certainly success was something that if the van you pulled up in was too nice, you were a sellout. You know what I mean? If your merch was too diverse, you were probably a sellout. You know what I mean? Like if you signed to a label, but it was too big, even if it was an independent label, but it was too big,
Yeah.
you were a sellout. And so there was a lot of that happening and still happens in the punk and hardcore world. So it's hard to think about yourself as like a career musician if that's the world that you're growing up in. You know what I mean? Because to make a living at doing this almost seemed like betraying it, At least that's what kind of was like ingrained into like a lot of people's heads from the scene that I was existing in. And so I say that all because I didn't see it as like a thing I'd be doing for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
No.
And certainly I've changed. I'm doing a call with you. I got gold records on my wall. You know what I mean? Like it's like things have happened, and that was something that's a journey that like I went through. But it was sort of it took me a long time to figure out that while I was looking, it was kind of like it's like a rom-com, like where the guy's looking for the girl the whole time, but it's always been right in front of him the whole time. It's always been the girl right next to him the whole time.
Yeah.
I was looking for what the hell I was gonna do with my life, but the guitar was always in my lap. You know what I mean? Um, and so I'm grateful that that's sort of where I ended up because it really was where my true passions lied. But that's sort of, and I call it a pipe dream because for so many people it is a pipe dream. It's so hard to like continue doing this, to break through and do this. I like to think of like I don't think my band is better than any of the bands that we started with or grew up with. A lot of the bands that we're talking about, um, we all built the same boats and put them on the water. And then for some of us, the wind came and then our sails filled. And for some of us, the wind didn't come. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean everyone's boat wasn't awesome, you know? And I feel
Do
like
you
for my
think?
band, the wind came.
Yeah. Yeah. When the win came, obviously it's not luck. You got to be working hard. You got to have the right work ethic.
Yeah.
But what do you think? It's a difficult question, but what do you think you were doing differently, or what do you think happened that did push you that bit further? Because we've talked about a lot of great bands today, but I absolutely love Thrice. I've got a tattoo of them. They're one of my favorite bands out there. I
Yeah, I love them.
love their music. I think they've evolved with time beautifully up there with bands like Radiohead, but
Hmm.
they never got that kind of main stage at Download. They never got that kind of
Yeah.
glory moment, even though they've been in the industry for years. What do you think it was that pushed you? What do you think it was that made that kind of difference that people made Rise Against a household name? That people, you're sitting here today ready to release your 10th studio album.
Hmm.
The journey you've been on hasn't been a quick one, but you must be able to see, even as an insider, that each time you play a festival or each time you do a tour, it's bigger venues. There's more people wearing your shirt. There's more people singing back. Your main stage now at Download, like you're growing and evolving still, where you haven't gone down that massive slope that a lot of bands have. I wonder what do
So,
you think it is? It's because
oh,
it must be doing something different.
I think of it, it's funny because you said it's not luck, but I don't discount how much luck plays a role in all of our lives. It's like it's not 100% luck. I don't even think it's 95% luck, but there's a little bit of luck in there. Like a part
Yeah,
part of it is just being lucky, being the right place, the
yeah,
right time and like culture and music and like making music happening, making music at a time where people's appetite for that kind of music, is peaking maybe. You know what I mean? Um, but luck isn't enough to get you through, right? So it's like you still gotta have good songs, you still gotta have a great live show. You gotta be good people. People like that they want to tour with. If we had a bad
yeah,
reputation like as a band, no one's gonna take us on tour. You know what I mean? No one's gonna bring us out. People aren't gonna root for us, people aren't gonna want to work for our band. Like there's things like that that go on like behind the scenes. I think I don't discount how much being a part of a community like the Fat Records community, which first signed our band for our first two records. That was a huge sort of jump for us to immediately land in this community of bands that were super supportive of each other and with a label that had a reputation of being super fair with their roster,
yeah.
and always
That's
was.
fair.
So had a great record label. Fat Mike was like a bit of a mentor to us. Um, the bands on Fat took us out, even though we weren't, no one knew who we were. But like, No Use for a Name took us to Japan, and you know, the Mad Caddies were already a name before we were, and they were taking us around the world. We got to play for their fans. Sick of It All had signed to Fat, took us on our first European tour. The first time I was ever in the UK, was opening for Sick of It All. Um, and being part of that family was a great launch pad for our band. And then peaking in like the early 2000s when bands like you're talking about, Thrice, Thursday, Poison the Well, Taking Back Sunday, Jimmy Eat World, like Sparta at the Drive-In, all that shit was kind of happening right at the time. We got a call from DreamWorks, who signed us to a 5 record deal, and then
Yeah.
we just put our heads down and we made all 5 of those records, you know, and all of them sold and recouped, and nobody ever tinkered with any of them, and we never had to go back into a studio or write a radio single or none of that shit, and and that was like partially due, I think we wrote good songs, but we also had a good team around us who protected us from the sharp teeth of the major label industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something that like you can't just do by yourself as a kid from Chicago who has no idea how to get to Hollywood. It's like somebody you need to have like a great manager and a great agent that can be like, hey, leave these kids the fuck alone. Let them make their songs. Let them go on tour with whoever they want to go on tour with. They don't need your money, They're just gonna come and do what they do. And we were able to do that. And people left us alone. And we've had a great career since then, where I think we're able to do our thing, exist like just under the radar, you know what I mean? But like enough where we get to like do this band, make music, and kind of fulfill our artistic instincts and do it in a way that I think we still honor who we were from day one.
Isn't that surely the dream that you get to steer your own ship?
It
It's
absolutely is.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty fucking awesome, really.
It's amazing. I think people even underestimate how much like we do steer our own ship. When I get questions like, sometimes people are like, "Oh, do you get to decide what bands you tour with?" And I was like, "Well, fuck yeah!" Like
Yeah.
it's like it's not even back in the day. You know what I mean? Like if it's our tour, every band has been handpicked by us. You know what I mean? Nobody, our touring world exists completely independent of any entity. You know what I mean? Nobody gives us money to do that. Nobody has a stake in that. Nobody can tell us what to do. And like every song you've heard by our band, like the version that you're hearing is the copy that we turned into the label as a finished product. We never gave them an option to approve it or change it, you
Like, it's
know?
so rare,
It,
dude. Like that's so unique. Like every band I interview, obviously not the massive bands anymore, like Deftones and stuff, Incubus, they've earned their right to do
mhm,
what they want. But a lot of the
yeah,
upcoming bands that are on the circuit now that you interview at festivals, they're waiting for the label to say, this has to be the single. And I've had bands turn around to me and say, we didn't want to release that as a single. Like, we didn't believe in it. But the label were
right,
like, we need to get as many streams as we can on Spotify. This will bring a bigger audience. This will do well on TikTok. And I'm like, you poor guys, like, you haven't even got the chance to choose what song is represented for this album. Like, oh, that's
right.
cruel. But I suppose it's the way we are. But for you, dude, you've earned that, and it's always worked. So why would you let anyone now come in a suit and say,
Oh,
actually,
yeah,
guys, I think
totally.
you should do this? Like, fuck off.
Right. Yeah, yeah, we've been very spoiled in that sense. Like, just, I remember finishing the song Ready to Fall,
Yeah.
which is off of Suffer and The Witness. And playing it for a band who was on, I think, Island Def Jam at the time, and we were on, well, DreamWorks folded, and we were on like Geffen Interscope, but like playing it for a band on Island Def Jam, and it got to the pre-chorus where I'm screaming the pre-chorus essentially, and they stopped. They're like, "Wait, they're letting you scream?" And I'm like, I was like, "Wait, they're not letting you scream?" Like, what are you talking about? Like, no one's letting you do anything. Like this is like what we gave them and said, take it or leave it. Like, but certainly nobody even suggested that we change it. And I remember just being like, holy shit, we're having a different experience out here than a lot of people are.
Yeah.
And, and like, we just, I think, met some people that believed in what we were doing. And I think the band, to our credit, made songs that people liked, whether it was screaming or not screaming. I think a combination of that too is that we were never an expensive band for a label to um, take care of. We were just
No.
like, just give us this much. We're gonna find the drummer of Black Flag and Descendants, where he has a warehouse an hour north of Denver,
Yeah.
and we're gonna make 6 records with him, you know, and we're not coming to Hollywood. We're not going to your big name producers. Um, just trust us. We won't cost you a lot of money, and you'll get your money back because we'll sell
And
records.
there's no big risks. Yeah.
No big risk. So if a band is a huge risk and they've spent tons of money, you're more likely to like have a label start chiming in
Yeah.
because they're interested in their return. They're like,
Well, they're
whoa,
panicking, aren't they? They're thinking, hang on a
they're
minute,
panicking.
like,
Yeah, they're
yeah.
giving you like $500,000 and they're like, these songs are not gonna get on the radio. How are we ever gonna get our money back? You know. But if you don't spend that much money, you do it the right way, but then I feel like there's less of their claws are in you, you know.
So that's why we're sitting here 26 years later and you're still absolutely ambitious, hungry, ready to release Ricochet. It's just a good place to be in. You still, I can already tell, even just talking to you today for half an hour, you've still got the fire in you. It's not like, oh, I need to do this as a job to support the family and I don't know what else to do. You're like, I just want to keep doing what we're doing because it's worked. You probably never even have to take a step back and look at it and think, is this what I want? Because you're just loving what you do.
It's pretty amazing. I feel very lucky to be doing
Yeah.
this. You know, I feel very lucky every time the fans show up, buy tickets to shows. I'm always, I think all of us, all 4 of us, are kind of like, holy shit, like they're still coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that we're all just a bunch of punk rockers at heart, waiting for the year where we show up and that venue's empty. And it's like, ah, shit, I guess it's time to wrap it up. And so to
The
be living
bubble
here
burst
now,
after
yeah,
26
right,
years.
yeah, they figured out we've been imposters this whole time. Um, and so to be playing shows in 2025 that are oftentimes some bigger now than they were, before, that's total shocker to me, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And it's feels good. And the band's, I think, playing better than we've ever played. And we've got, just good perspective now. We're no longer like chasing anything.
No.
We're just sort of like being confident with our music and um our back catalog, and then confident with our fans, the ones that show up to see us play. And I just feel like we're just quietly getting away with it. And that's kind of what it feels like, and it's a lot of fun.
I saw you last month at Download and I was blown away and I thought that run on that Friday of you, it was you, Jimmy Eat World, Weezer, Green Day. I was like, this is fucking heaven. Like, what a moment. It was just,
Yeah, what a great lineup. I think Jimmy and Roller are amazing. Like I was watching them in the 90s in their front
yeah,
row back in like playing with like Mineral and like all these old bands, and so to watch them do what they do as a bunch of guys who lived in a van and trailer just as long as we did.
yeah,
I love seeing that story. Weezer, Green Day, like it really was a cool moment to be up there and to be thought of as a band that belongs up there with these iconic bands. It was pretty fun. That was my favorite download. We played it, I think, 4 or 5 times now, and that was my favorite one.
Did you get to stick around and watch any of the other bands, or were you straight off and somewhere else? Like, did you get to see Sleep Token the next day and stuff, or?
No, we had to take off.
Yeah,
So we only saw, I think, a little bit of Jimmy, and then we had to
yeah.
bail. That was a crazy day for us, but we flew in that morning from like Austria, and then we're like on stage at like 4 o'clock. So
Jesus Christ, man.
yeah.
So, how's it feel at the moment now that you've got this new album coming out? Obviously, when you're doing any tour dates, you want to play new songs, keep people excited, but with 10 albums under your belt, surely getting a pen and paper and doing that set list must be the biggest challenge as a songwriter and a performer because you're trying
Yeah.
to keep people happy. You've got hundreds of songs.
Right.
so many hits that people want to hear, and you can't please everyone, can you? You just have to try your best.
It's so hard. I like to say that my band almost breaks up every time we make a set list.
No one is on the same page.
Yeah. Just it's somebody once used this analogy for mixing a record. When you mix a record, you have 60 tracks, and then you're trying to like it's like having 60 cars you're trying to put in a parking lot that holds 20 cars, right? But something's gonna get
Yeah,
left behind. So Rise Against is the band that has like 120 songs, and we can only fit 18 roughly in a set list. So like
right.
you're leaving 100 songs out of it, you know?
That's
And
crazy.
so like you have songs that you want to play that you want to like, see what they sound like live. And then you play download, you're playing for Rise fans. They're there to see you and they've waited a long time to see you. And we haven't been in the UK in a long time. So like they're there to hear your popular songs. You also have similar to download. You have people who are there waiting for Jimmy Eat World and Weezer and Green Day. You know what I mean? So like they're not necessarily your fan. You know what I mean? But they're potentially going to be your fan if you put on a good enough show. So it's like, well,
It's a golden ticket, isn't it, to win new fans? Like everyone gets
yes,
there a bit earlier, like, oh, who the fuck are these? These are great. Like I didn't realize. And then you're like, I'm gonna go and buy a Rise Against album because I was here for Jimmy Eat World, and I can hear the similarities. Like,
totally, yes, and that's what makes those
yeah,
fests so important for a band like us. We've been a band for 25 years. People largely have made up their minds how they feel about us. If you've been around that long, so you're maybe not coming to our headlining show if you're not a huge fan of the band. But if we play a festival like that, you're maybe stuck watching us while you're waiting for your favorite band, and that's our chance to kind of like win you over. And
yeah,
so, for a band like us to get in front of new faces, that's always the goal. It's why we go out and open for Blink in Australia. I mean, it's why we're on the road with like Papa Roach. Like we want to get in front of new faces and like bring you into our cult. You know what I mean? Like convince you to be a part of this cult. And so we to do that we have to be in front of new faces, and that's why a show like that is important, and that's why crafting that set list becomes important, too. So it'll be different if we're headlining a room that we know it's all Rise fans there. We might go for some deep cuts. We might try
yeah,
something, to stoke out people who have seen us a million times and they want to see something they've never seen before. The last US tour we did, we actually rotated three pretty unique set lists on the tour. Like every three shows was a totally different,
that's
it
cool.
was, yeah. So like show A, B, and C basically. Like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, each show was pretty unique. So like people were getting a different thing. And so we try to find ways to keep the set list fresh, but also we want to play you the hits that you came to see too.
Yeah,
That like
and new
you've been
songs
waiting.
must be great as a band. Surely you're like, oh, this is exciting. We've never played these before, so we can try dynamics, we can try ideas, we can see what the crowd are like, we can see if they like the chorus of this song or how the
Right,
breakdown's going to
right.
work live. And at the same time, I always feel when I see a band play, this is a brand new song, and it just goes flat because it's like no one knows the chorus yet. It's a risk.
Yeah, totally. It's so true. Yeah, the new songs I mean, it's not a secret, I'm sure, with a lot of bands, like you will try to sneak it in right before you're gonna play your big hit.
Yeah,
What after you've tested the patience of your crowd, you know what I mean? And they're about to go get a beer, and then you start
yeah,
them with your big song, or you play it right after your big hit, where
yeah.
like their appetite is satiated, they're
Everyone is
happy,
absolutely going wild, and you're like,
they're full. They saw the song they wanted to
yeah,
see, and now it's like, okay, now that I've got your attention, let me try to sneak this new thing
yeah,
in.
let
Let's
it
see.
go
Let's
under
see
the
what.
radar, please.
Totally, yeah, exactly.
Our
So
that's the way to do it, and I think that's the
yeah,
best way. And
yeah.
I don't envy you with that many songs trying to keep everyone happy. And you're never going to get if your whole band's not happy as individuals, you're never going to please the crowd, are you?
No, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like we have to love it because
Yeah,
that's you can't fake that. When you love a song, people, it's infectious. It's
yeah.
contagious.
My
So,
final question for you today, because obviously I'm wary of time, is what I do, Tim, on this podcast is I've never changed it. So even though I've had actors like Anthony Hopkins, Mads Mikkelsen, I've had
oh
bands like
wow,
Deftones, I've had everyone. So not just musicians, I have everybody from all different walks of life. Um, at nearly 460 episodes now, I've never changed the final question. And what I do is I ask you on the spot, Tim, to pick a song that means a lot to you. Now, it doesn't have to be one of your own songs. In the history of this podcast, only one musician has picked their own band, but
That's funny.
it was Bert from The Used. But
Of course it was Bert. Of course it was Bert. I love Bert.
promoted himself on his own
Yeah.
episode. But
He was probably wearing a used T-shirt while he was talking to you.
he was wearing a used jacket, which is
See,
amazing.
that's Bert. I love
I
it.
love that guy.
Unapologetically Bert. He's the best.
Fucking love him. He gave me a jacket as well. So after the interview, I was like, "I love your jacket." He's like, "Here, have one." I was like, "Okay, this is cool." Like,
I love that. That's amazing.
and I wondered today. I know it's difficult because I'm putting you on the spot, and you can't message me in a couple of days. What's a song? Doesn't have to be like your funeral song. Just a song that really fucking means something to you that you would love to be played. And the reason I ask is that one song will come before any other to your heart and soul, without even thinking too hard about it. And I just wondered why you think that's the song that should play out after our interview today.
Ooh, okay. Well, the first song that comes to my mind, and this is as my wife is entering the room to pass me a charger to make sure my iPad doesn't die.
Just as you're about to tell me the song, and the song is
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But actually, she makes me think of the song as Urge Overkill's Dropout. Um, it's Urge Overkill, the band from Chicago.
yeah,
And they have a song called Dropout, and we used to listen to it all the time when we were like our first dating, and it has this great, great vibe with like I don't know how to describe it. People should just go check it out. It's a really mellow, like like backbeat, almost drum machine kind of song. And then I don't know why that one came to my head, but it's always been I used to I used to have like what I called wake up songs. Like
yeah.
the song that I wanted to like put on. This is before iPods and it was when I still had a CD cases then out there and like as I was waking up, I'm like, it's too early to go crazy yet. Like I need something that's gonna like wake me up. And Urge Overkill Dropout was like one of my wake up songs.
Mine was always like Pet Sounds. I'd always just be like, this isn't too heavy.
Yeah.
So, God Only Knows or something would be like, okay, I'm ready for the day now. Or doesn't need to be straight into like, Deftones. I'm like, I'm okay for that right now. I need to get into the day. But I've never even heard the band you've mentioned. So this is going to be great
Oh, really?
because what I normally do is I have these episodes and someone will say, oh, I love this song by the Beatles. And I'm like, that's great. Oh, my daughter was
Mhm.
born and I did this. And I'm like, okay. So I've heard the song, but when I now get to discover someone new, what I'll do is I'll end up going in there, getting the song, putting it in the episode, and then being like, let's listen to a bit more by this band. And the next thing you know, I'm down a rabbit hole and spending days becoming obsessed with a new band that I didn't even know existed. So that's exciting.
Yeah, they were now that you mentioned it, I was like, yeah, they don't really play anymore, but they were great. They were big in the 90s. They had a song
Yeah.
in a Quentin Tarantino movie, like The Girl You'll Be a Woman Soon.
Oh,
They were
okay. I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so just a cool band, Nash Cato. I don't know what happened to them. But anyway, uh Dropout. Check out Dropout.
Perfect, man. Thank you for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, mine too.
I
Congrats on
really,
the podcast and all the success, and it's good to see you again.
how long will it be, do you think? Until I know you've just been here and I missed your intimate shows and I saw you doing those kind of like stripped down gigs and I was like,
Oh
fuck
yeah, that was
man, I
fun.
wish I was there. Like I know Claire from Concord and
Oh
I
yeah,
saw pictures and I was like, man, that looks so fucking awesome. But
it was pretty fun.
timing wasn't good. But hopefully it won't be too long till you're back.
We'll come back for sure, and the album will be out, and we'll definitely be back. The UK's always been good to us, so we'll come back for sure.
There's a lie he would say if you're hearing what I'm saying, just nod if you understand me, but just nod if you think it's going on.
So there's my interview with me and Tim from Rise Against, an incredible human being. I adore him, such an amazing talent, a great songwriter, incredible vocalist, and just inspires me every day. I love the band. Go and listen to their new album. It's out now. It's called Ricochet. It will blow your mind, and I can't wait to see them, hopefully at the end of this year or early next year when they return to the UK. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed today's episode, please keep on sharing. It doesn't take long. It's literally a couple of buttons on your phone or your laptop or iPad. Tell the world. Literally, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they've all got that easy share button. Click it and tell someone about the podcast. It goes a massive way to getting the name of Mark and me out there. It costs you nothing to do and means the absolute world to me. Also, before I go, I do have a Patreon account. As you heard, the podcast is free, but I do need to host it on all these different directories and travel the country to do podcasts and just to have actual bills to pay that come with this podcast. I make no money myself. It all goes right back into the podcast, so any donations on there really go a long way. The link's on markandme.com, and I appreciate each and every one of you signing up and pledging each and every month to Mark and Me. Right, guys, before I go, let's give a shout out to the two sponsors of Mark and Me. Firstly, Vice Press. They do genuinely sell the best posters in the world by the best artists. All of them are absolutely lovely people. They're a great company and you should show them some support. Go on the website vicepress.com, order anything, and make sure you use the discount code MarkandMe10 for 10% off. There's some great stuff, brilliant licensed prints, great collectibles, and you'll honestly want to order so much cool stuff. Secondly, Richer Sounds, the best company out there for anything to do with audio, visual, anything to do with projectors, microphones, headphones, whatever it is. Go to Richer Sounds before anywhere else because they won't be beaten on price and have the best people out there giving you the best advice, and they're just awesome. Right, guys, it's only going to be a couple more days till another brand new episode. It is non-stop at the moment. It's going to be another huge band, a big singer. That's all I'm going to tell you for now, but it will only be a couple of days away. So, until then, go and check out the brand new album by Rise Against called Ricochet. Keep supporting Mark and me. Keep keeping yourself safe, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
What's the matter with you? You've been down all day. What happened to you? Make you feel that way? Baby, ain't that a shame when they call you those names? Dropping out from school, guess it wasn't so cool. Everyone needs some space to breathe. All the time we have been blind, so blind. Yeah, we just couldn't see it. Yeah, you're too old to cry, too young to die. What happens in the in-between? Don't you think it's strange? Things just change. It's just a burned out town, it's a burned out scene. You've been a dropout ever since you've been 17. Lonely child, when will you sleep? You need to be free. Oftentimes, people they find are not blind. Yeah, they just don't see it. down.